We'll call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. Let us stand for the pledge. Jared, would you please lead us in the pledge? Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher.
Here.
Joe Crowell.
Here.
Jerry Sartain. Joe Machado. Michael Rather. Jared Barrett.
Here.
Zane Cantrell.
Present.
We do have a quorum, and we will need an alternate vote in Joe Machado's position.
Okay, thank you. You have the minutes that were mailed out to you, and we have two. I believe we've already approved one of those, so the minutes of the last meeting, are there any changes or additions to those? Do I hear a motion that they be approved? We have a motion to be approved. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved. Thank you. Let me welcome each of you here this morning and give you this evening and give you a little idea of how we will proceed with our meeting. We'll have a report from our staff on each item that is before us. Those of you who are requesting a variance or a change, we ask that you come to the podium because the board may have some additional questions they'd like to ask you about your proposal. After that, we'll have a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak either for or against the proposal that comes before us. And we'd ask that you come to the podium and give us your names for the record so that when we have the public hearing. The first item we have before us is a request by Khan Sunavong, who is requesting a variance relief for a wall sign. What do you have on that?
Okay. Application 2012-5, applied for by Khan Sunavong, is requesting variance relief to allow a 21 square foot wall sign in the residential 15 zone. The property is located at 2185 Almaville Road. It's a 0.8 acre parcel located in the R15 zone. And the applicant was approved for a major home-based business of a hair salon in September of 2011. And with that approval, she was allowed to have a 5 square foot sign that is attached to the principal structure. However, that size is not adequate for the applicant's needs, according to the applicant, and she is requesting a 21 square foot sign to be attached to the wall. To advertise her business, she is set back off the right-of-way by 190 feet approximately from the edge of pavement of Almaville Road. The application does demonstrate special conditions. Her particular property, even though it's located in a residential zone, she's located across the town of Smyrna, properties located within those municipal boundaries that are zone light industrial and commercial. Almaville Road is a busy road. She's not nestled into a residential community. This area is developed with many non-residential uses. She is the only residence in this immediate vicinity. There are some closer to Smyrna that front Almaville Road, but her adjacent developed property is the volunteer fire department. So no one is directly affected unless you're a person traveling in your car along Almaville Road, but no other home sites will be able to see the sign. We did receive a phone call from one adjacent property owner who indicated that he was in favor of her requests, and staff posted the sign on the property. We have not received any other phone calls in opposition. However, the reason we are before you today is because the applicant did already place signs that exceeded or were not permitted by code onto the property. Once she was alerted by code enforcement that she needed to remove the signs, one including a ground sign, which she is not permitted to have or can request a variance for, she came in and submitted her application to come into compliance with our standards. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you please come around at this time. Just come to the podium. Give us your name and any additional information you'd like to share with the board.
My name is Khan Sunivong, and as Danielle was speak, that was my request.
Do we have any questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on it? We have a motion that be approved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Jared Barrett,
Yes.
Thane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Okay, it is approved. The next item we have is a request by Robert Zaire, who is requesting a ADU, which is would be placed on the property. It's my understanding for a temporary placement. What do you have on that?
Okay. Application 2012-6 filed by Robert Zaire involves the property located at 3288 Highway 269. It's an 8.2 acre parcel located in a residential 15 zone, and there is a principal residence located on the property along with a shop. They are seeking approval to establish an accessory dwelling unit that does not meet the design standards for accessory dwelling units by right for a property located in R15 with variance relief from the total square footage for detached accessory structures. The applicant would like to move a double-wide mobile home temporarily on the property for their parents who are constructing a home on another site. This mobile home will obviously not match the brick facade on the principal residence, and that is what caused this application, in addition to the square footage, to come before the board, because we do permit ADUs by right on parcels 1 acre or larger. The shop that's located on the property already exceeds the 2,500 square foot maximum. It measures 2,685 square feet, and with the additional maximum of 1,800 square feet for the double wide, it would require a variance of 1,985 square feet in addition to the 2,500 maximum. We received one phone call and just inquiring about the application. They did not indicate whether or not they were in favor or against the request. The applicant will obviously have to go before the permitting process. Through the permitting process, they've already obtained a soil site located on the property. We have posted the sign on the property, and these are photos of the surrounding area. The area does consist of site-built and manufactured homes, so they are not introducing a structure that is not already located in this area. And that's the principal residence. This is the survey supplied by the applicant, and we just drew the shape of where the approximate location of the mobile home would be in relation to the principal residence and Christiana Road. And we recommend approval subject to conditions.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Give us your name and any additional.
Robert Zaire. And then, I can speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to clarify on temporary, they're not building a house. They're about 73, 74 years old. We want to move them because of their desire to be close to family as they age. And what my definition is temporary, once they're done with the structure, I want to move it off the property. So whether they pass on in a year or 10 years or move to a assisted living or a retirement home, it could be 1 year, it could be 10 years, it could be 20 years. But I guess by me saying temporary, I guess I better redefine that. So it's temporary in my mind because I'm getting rid of it once they're done. I want the land back, so. And I think that
You
was,
have any questions? Keith?
Yes, sir. I just want to clarify. So whenever they no longer want to reside there, you're going to remove this mobile home off the property. It
Yeah.
won't be rental property or anything like that. Wouldn't become rental property or
No.
anything. All right, thank you.
no.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. Appreciate it. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. Do I have a motion on it?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, but I'll put that he has to move this once they're no longer using it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Did you get that in the motion? Okay. Do we have a second? Got a second. Keith? Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher. Joe Crowell. Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
Jared Barrett.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Okay, it is approved. The next item we have is a request by John Lehue, and this is, he's asking for a conditional use permit, which allows a major home-based business, welding, machine, and light fabrication service. And this is in the R15 zone. What do you have on that, please?
Application 2012-07, filed by John Lehue, involves the property located at 4853 Arnold Drive. It's a .62 acre parcel located in a residential 15 zone. He is seeking conditional use approval to allow a major home-based business that provides welding, machine, and light fabrication services. And also, as part of this request, he is seeking variance relief from the total square footage for detached accessory structures. The applicant would like to construct, as part of this request, a 1,728 square feet building to be used for the major home-based business. There are no other detached accessory structures on the property, but a .62 acre parcel is limited to 1,200 square feet. So he is seeking relief for an additional 528 square feet, and so to construct this 36 by 48 building on the property. They are proposing to only have one non-resident employee, be open from 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, and only have one business vehicle parked on site. They are allowed a 5 square foot sign to be attached to the structure. However, it's not the applicant's intentions at the moment to place a sign on the property advertising the business. We did receive one phone call in opposition to the request, and I'd like to make note that even if the board approved this request, he would also be subject to those standards found in 1304F that regulate home-based businesses. It talks to traffic, nuisances such as noise, and delivery trucks, those sorts of things. So he would still be regulated by those if the business were to start becoming a problem. Neighbors could actually call and ask us to check the noise out or the traffic out in the area. Staff recommends approval of the application, and I'll just go through some photos for you. This is the residence in question. He's surrounded by other residences in the area. We posted a sign on the property. This is a layout that the applicant supplied us. It's kind of difficult to read, but it shows that the proposed accessory structure will be located towards the rear of the property, and he will meet the setbacks for the placement of detached accessory structures. And as you see, we've drawn the approximate location on the aerial so you can have a better idea as to where it's going to be placed. And that concludes our presentation.
And we have someone here representing this request. If you'll come around and give us your name, please, and any additional information you might have for the board.
My name is John Lehue. I don't have anything other than what she said there.
Do we have any questions?
Mr. Lehue, if you had a contract that you couldn't meet the 40 hours, what would you do?
Not take the contract. I wouldn't accept the job that that required me to work past my hours.
Will we allow noise going on?
No, sir. With a proposed building size, I'll be able to have everything inside where we could keep the door shut.
What kind of noise level would be? How many next door to you, right here?
No, sir.
Any other questions?
Just a few follow-up, Mr. Chairman. Of course, it's going to be 8 to 4:30. You said everything will be inside. All your work will be done inside. There won't be any outside storage?
No, sir.
Anything? Everything will be inside? Okay. That's all I have.
Jerry, do you have a question? Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. Appreciate it. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request.
My name is Larry Oglesby. My daughter and I own the property next door to Mr. Lehue. We bought this property several years ago for a quiet neighborhood, and this proposal will be a noise nuisance, a traffic nuisance, and everything else. I say this because 30 years ago I started my own fabrication shop. You cannot contain the noise by a door closed or any of that, because the beating and banging and the grinding will get through the walls unless you're just super insulated. The trucks that bring steel in are not small trucks. They're heavy. There's already a load limit on the road as it is. So we are opposing this because of all the noise and the traffic in the neighborhood.
Where do you live in relation to?
620 Kittrell Road.
Right next door to it?
No, my daughter lives.
You just have, your daughter lives next door?
Yes, my daughter and I own the house.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a question. Pertaining to this map right here, where do you live? On the left, right-hand side of them,
The
right next to?
right-hand side, 4857.
Okay. You actually reside there, or do you just own the home?
Not. My daughter does.
Daughter resides there?
My daughter and I own the property.
Okay, that's not my question. I'm
Okay.
saying you own the property. Do you reside there?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, I'm sorry, we've got another question here. Joe, turn your mic on.
You said 4857?
Yes.
Is there a house on that property
Yes,
now?
there is.
Does your daughter live in that house?
Yes, she does.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Thank you, you may be seated now. Anyone else, please come around. Come around. Just give us your name and any information you have.
My name is Dean Walt, and I live at 204 Walt Road, which is right up the block there. I think that would be north of the 4853, right at the conjunction of Arnold and Walt. My question is, how will this affect the neighborhood if this is changed for this gentleman? So that's my question.
Well, we're not sure that it will change. We don't know. But you go ahead with your statement. We'd like to hear what you think about this.
Well, I was wondering if it was going to, if it's passed, increase the property up and down Arnold, and perhaps would affect my property, which is zoned RF slash possible commercial. So will this increase the property around that area?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by increase the property?
In value.
Well, the value keeps going up in this county. I haven't seen it go down in a while. So we don't really know. You'd have to have someone, a professional person, to be able to make that determination. Regardless of this, if your property increases in value, this may not have any effect on whether it increases or decreases. The only way you'd really know that is to get a professional assessor to give you some guidance on that. And that's expensive sometimes, so I know. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming. Anyone else?
Charlotte Crockett, and I live at 4806 Arnold, and I'm just worried about the children that live in our neighborhood. It's a neighborhood. It's residential. It's not a working area. And, you know, like we have a limit on the loads that trucks can carry through that little street. It's a very tiny little street. 2 cars can't even pass on it at the same time. It's kind of one lane.
Yeah.
And the noise level, of course. Most people that rent don't usually want to build a business beside a rental home. So I was kind of wondering, why would you want to do that when you're renting a house?
Business is a business.
It's not an industrial area, though.
Yeah.
It's a neighborhood. We want to live there in, peace.
Well, we certainly understand. We take that into consideration.
All in the streets.
Yes, ma'am.
All the time. We have a whole lot of children in our neighborhood, and I'm worried about that.
Let's see if we have any questions. Have any questions of this lady? Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate your input. Anyone else? Don't be shy now. If you need, you're here for this public hearing, please come on forward.
Sarah England, and I live at 4853. My dad was just up here, and I have lived there since '98. One of the reasons I moved there was because it was peaceful and quiet. Most of these houses have been moved in off of an Air Force base. They're old. The windows are old. I can hear everything that goes on next door. Everything. And, for somebody to say, well, I'm going to build a building and that'll contain all the steel and all the scrap, as my father told you, he's done that all his life. There's no way that you can put all the metal, all the scrap, all the oxygen, all the acetylene, everything in one building. And there's already 18-wheelers coming down the road delivering steel. And it's just, like I said, it was recently rezoned not too long ago for strictly residential. There's plenty of other places to, there's a place up on 231 that's for lease, that's a commercial place. Why do you got to do it in the backyard? And plus the paint, he's got a little white tint like for painting. The EPA would not go for that at all, because I can walk out my backyard when he's primering and I can smell it, not to mention the overspray going on everybody's stuff. And I've known his grandfather for a long time. I want to be neighborly. But when he found out that I didn't want this, he came to my house yesterday and asked me what I was doing, why I was doing this. You know, and then father called me, grandmother called me. I mean, why do I have to take bullying because I live there? That's my residence. I shouldn't have to have somebody come over and go, you know, why are you doing what you're doing? And I'm planning on selling the house hopefully within a year or so. And if you were a newlywed with a baby or a newlywed without a baby, would you want to buy a house with a steel shop right next door?
Smith, did you have any questions? Wait just a minute. We may have some questions.
And Jason, to this map right here, ma'am, which residence you live at?
I'm at 4857.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Last call. Anyone else? Turn it in to our secretary here, please. Thank you. Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, could we talk to Mr. Leahy one more time?
Sure. Mr. Leahy, come around. Have the request for you. Better be careful. They can hear everything that's going on out there.
All right.
What kind of trucks are going to be coming in? What size truck do you have?
I've got a 3/4 ton pickup truck is all I have, and if we get this approved here, I won't have any steel trucks coming in. The biggest commercial vehicle will be like a UPS truck.
And you would not have any steel delivered there?
No, we'll go pick all that up ourselves.
You pick it all up yourself?
Yes, sir.
And you will keep the noise level down?
Yes, sir.
Any problems, and we hear from it, we'll call Danielle, and Danielle will take care of that noise?
Code enforcement will.
Codes enforcement, Joanne will. Okay, thank you.
Codes enforcement would take care of that.
I wanted to also say that we own the property there. It's not a rental or anything of any sort.
You do own the property?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Michael?
Well, you answered one of them. You told me you own the property. Do you say you do mostly, I know there's welding and fabrication and involved in a lot of the business, but are we looking at tubed steel? Are we looking at heavy gauge, 4x8 sheets of steel, or all the above?
It's mainly small fixture items, stuff like that. It's not structural steel or any big, like buildings or anything like that. It'd be like a light fabrication shop, small stuff you can carry in your hands.
Joe?
Would you be using 10 to 16 gauge metal, sheet metal?
Yes, sir. Among other sizes, but yeah, that would be. I mean, we're not going to do any, 1 inch thick.
And will you have a brake and a chopper that cuts the length?
I've got a hand brake, yes, sir. Not
brake.
any big commercial, brakes or anything like that.
But you would keep the noise down?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Appreciate you coming back. We'll close the public hearing. Any questions, concerns, statements from the board? I'll entertain a motion. Oh, you want to talk? Go ahead.
Just to reiterate what the secretary was saying about the home-based business, we have sound provisions in there, correct?
We have the provisions which he will be subject to, and I'm more than happy to give a copy to anyone who would like, or it's posted on our website. One of the criteria says the equipment used by the home-based business and the operation of the home-based business shall not create any vibrations, heat, glare, dust, odors, noise, or smoke discernible at the property lines.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments or
amongst
questions?
other regulations, but that's the one specific to noise.
It's in there. Anything else? We'll entertain a motion. Have a motion on it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve, but they must meet all the county guidelines.
Okay.
They must totally go by them. If any complaints come from a noise, odor, then I hope Joanne would go out and take care of it.
Okay.
I'll second.
I have a motion that it be approved and second with the strict following of the guidelines as set forth in this document. Any other comments? Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain, Jared Barrett,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
It is approved. The next item of business we have is the request by Patricia and Jerry Gibson. They're requesting a conditional use permit for special events and variance relief from a development standard, and this would be the parking area. What do you have on that, please?
Application 2012-08, filed by Patricia and Jerry Gibson, involves the property located at 7549 Woodbury Pike. It's a 6-acre parcel that's zoned residential 15, and she is seeking conditional use permit approval for special events and variance relief from the development standard requiring double bituminous parking areas. The applicant would like to hold special events on her property during the weekends, and these events, up to a maximum of 150 people at any given time. They'll only employ part-time employees to work the events, and the events will not be held before 9 or after 10 on those weekend days. The applicant proposes to install a sign of 13.5 square feet. She'd like to take advantage of the natural features of her property. It's the applicant's intentions to install additional vegetation to create like a garden setting on the property to host these events for people who would like to rent the property for their special occasion, whether it's a family reunion, birthday, wedding. And the applicant will use temporary structures such as tents and porta potties for bathroom facilities. They will propose to use a site located on the property, an area for parking, but it's the applicant's desire to not be required to pave that parking so it can keep the pastoral setting of the area. She is located across the creek from Cottrell School, and we have not received any phone calls regarding this particular application, but I've taken photos of the surrounding area and the property. We've posted a sign on the property, and we recommend approval subject to conditions. And this is a photo from the Ringwald Drive access point where people will be able to drive past the barn to the designated parking area. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? You'll give us your name and any additional information you might want to share.
Yes, my name's Jerry Gibson. My wife and I, Patricia, live at 7549 Woodbury Pike. And other than what's been stated, I don't have anything to add unless you have some questions.
What are the special events that you talk about that you would be having?
Weddings and company picnics, birthday parties, that kind of thing.
Have you had any special events there before?
Yes, we have. We've had 2 family weddings and some family birthday parties.
Have you had anyone to approach you about a special event to be held there?
Yes, we have.
What kind are they mostly?
Oh, one's a wedding,
Weddings.
and the other's a birthday party.
Any questions from the board? Michael?
If I were to approach you about an event where I wanted to bring a band in and about 18 kegs of beer, would you let me have it there?
Sounds like fun. Well, we have had live music. We have had a band, but we have a cutoff time at 10 o'clock on Saturdays. We have had a couple of birthday parties there with the band. We had our daughter's wedding with a band and under a tent, and it was a lot of fun.
So your answer would be probably?
Probably, yes. Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you that, but I wonder.
Joe?
And you will allow alcohol, in other words?
Only with a state licensed bartender. If the people going to have the wedding request that.
If you have 150 people with alcohol, will you have any policemen there?
I'm sorry?
If you had 150 people there with alcohol, would you have security?
Yes.
What type of security?
Off-duty police officer.
Would you have off-duty police officers if you didn't have alcohol?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Although we do have, no, we probably wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, if it was something that would be required, yes, we would.
If you had 150 people there, that's quite a few people.
Yes, it is.
I would suggest you'd have security if you had 150 people, whether you had alcohol or not.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Jared?
How many vehicles do you anticipate in this parking area? I know you said 150 people, but how many vehicles do you think you're going to have?
Well, for 150 people, I'm not real sure. The most we've ever had there has been about 55, 60 people, and we probably had about 45, 50 vehicles.
I guess kind of follow up on a little bit what Jared said there. So 150 people at whatever event would be a max for you, you're saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
A little bit of, when you said about security, I guess I'm kind of worried about a little bit. On this section of Woodbury Highway, is this where it's the 2-lane?
Yes.
Okay. When you have events, do you ever have any, I guess, maybe security or some type of personnel that directs traffic in or out of there, in the event, especially, I guess, when the event is over with, all these cars coming out of there? Do you usually have somebody in place to?
Actually, it's been our experience with the weddings that we've had is they kind of disperse gradually because everybody doesn't leave at the same time. We've had a few leave and then a few leave and then a few leave. That really hasn't been an issue. Yeah.
All right, so thank you.
Any other questions? I'll tell you what, I have a little bit of a problem with the way you've answered these questions. Number one, I don't have any problem if you're having a wedding, you're having company picnics and this sort of thing. But when you start bringing in bands and you start serving alcohol on site, there's just too much danger out in the rural area like that, especially in this community. And I dare say if a lot of folks that lived out in there really realized what you might be requesting, we'd have a whole place full up here of people protesting, because we had one recently a few months ago. It's kind of a Bonnaroo type of thing, and I don't think anybody out there in this board doesn't want to see Bonnaroo. We've got enough Bonnaroos around now. So I would be reluctant to vote for this if you're going to have bands and have alcohol served, especially hard liquor. Do you have any comment to that?
Yes, I have the same, my wife and I have the same concern, and we don't advertise that. We won't advertise that. There are some folks that want to have table wine or drink with, but I'm not afraid to tell somebody, you've had enough, or we can't allow that. I don't have a problem with that at all.
I would.
The last thing I want to do is have someone on the road that doesn't need to be on the road. Every time we have had an event there, we have had someone, either a friend or somebody from my group that is a peace officer who has been on site. So I am concerned about that.
Yeah.
We had a young lady that lost her life on that creek a few years ago, and that is a concern. Yes, sir.
We have too much of that with, you know, I think we need to look at something a little bit stronger. If we make a motion on this, to restrict.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to add a comment, and I don't know if Mr. Gibson, I don't know if he's aware of it. I think and I know we're not speaking to it here, and that's not, but I know you've brought it up about him when he has an event about serving alcohol or allowing them to serve alcohol. I think if he allows anybody to have any alcohol, now I know he's talking about liquor, he would have to have somebody with a state license, but if he has, I think beer or wine like that, they're going to have a permit through the county to even do that. I don't think if he did that or allowed that, I think he'd be in violation of the county code. I mean, if you don't have that permit, but even on any event. But I know what you're talking about when we had an application back some months ago about out serving alcohol and stuff, and I know some reservations about it, and I don't know if he wants to take on that responsibility, but anyway, I have some reservations about it myself.
Thank you. Jerry, did you have a comment?
Yes, we already have in the conditions, it talks about the principal use of the site will remain as a residential dwelling, and the use of property events shall not have substantial or undue adverse effect. So if it gets out of control, we have conditions in there to take care of it.
Any other comment?
I just got one question. I don't want to put a county attorney on the spot, but what I just spoke to, and the reason I say that, by serving on the beer board, I know we have some events that come before us routinely about serving alcohol and stuff like that. If they do that, would he have to not apply for a permit? Or the person doing the event, if they're serving alcohol on that property?
I believe that to be the case. I would have to go back and check the statute, but I know that we have dealt with similar scenarios with the beer board where they have had events and they've had to come before the beer board before they serve any alcohol whatsoever.
Now, y'all talk about serving alcohol. It's just as much of a concern if I do an event at his location and I bring a pickup truckload of Budweiser with me. You know, he's not serving anything. So it's just alcohol being consumed at those events that's, regardless of where it comes from, is an issue.
Right.
Especially with 150 people.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You may be seated. Let me open up.
I just want to speak to the 150 people because when I initially spoke with the applicant, I asked him to establish an absolute maximum. And we threw out some numbers and came out with 150. This is not in their near future, but that number was based on our conversations. You had indicated that the average number of people at these events were less than 100. So the 150 was just the absolute max, and if it started becoming larger than that, of course, he would have to appear before the board again.
Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion on it, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'm making a motion we approve, but with only 100 people and with the conditions that's been put forth by the board.
We have a motion that be approved with 100 people with the restrictions.
A second.
And we have a second.
Yeah, second.
We have a motion and a second. That's I think we probably, with the things that we have on it now, was probably, I'm not sure, protected. Any alcohol beverages, regardless of who brings it in there, would have to go to the beer board, if I understand your comment.
Well, I'm not saying that every single scenario where somebody consumes alcohol on that piece of property would have to be checked by the beer board. But what I'm saying is if it's going to be provided or served on that property under that type of scenario, I think it may have to do so, yes.
Any other comments? I'm somewhat reluctant on this, but okay, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
No.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Jared Barrett,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
It is approved. That's the last one. That's all we have. We are adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate you being here and involved in the Board of Zoning Appeals.